What's the similarity between Halloween and Christmas in Greece? What fruit came from blood? How many carols do the Greeks sing? What does a child-eating god have to do with Christmas? What role did the Minotaur play? How many times can a god be born? And is Christmas really a Christian invention after all? Welcome to Not Another Greek History Podcast, the podcast that aims to be exactly what it says. I'm your host, Onúfiros Dovletis, and together we'll discover the not-so-frequently told stories of Greece's history that will change the way you view things forever. Is Christmas really a Christian invention? To answer this question, we have to go back to ancient times. Even then, people had several religious holidays similar to Christmas. Although considered obviously a Christian celebration, Christmas, as the name suggests, which has to do with Christ, is based actually on ancient holidays. That's why December 25th becomes eventually the birthday of Jesus, because it already was significant in the ancient religions. December 21st or 22nd is the winter solstice, which means that days start to grow longer again. It is therefore considered to be a time of new beginnings. That's why in ancient Greece, during the winter solstice, they used to celebrate the birth of Dionysus, as you say in English, Dionysos, that's how we say it in Greek, or Bacchus. I think that's obvious, that's the name Bacchus, a name that was later adopted by the Romans also. The things that usually most people know Bacchus as a Roman god, in quotation marks, which was never such a thing. Both names were used by the Greeks, keep in mind. He was a son of Zeus and the virgin princess Semele, who was, of course, human. And they called him Savior and Divine Infant. I think these two words might sound familiar for those who know a couple of things about Jesus. Keep in mind that these stories have several versions or longer versions also. The one that I was raised with is the one with Semele alone being the mother of Dionysus. The one that was supposed to be his first birth, though, involved Persephone, the wife of Hades, or her mother Demeter, practically from the earth. That's what the whole point was, that he's a son of Zeus, who is the god of the sky, the god of rain, and the mother is a goddess of the earth. The story says that, of course, Zeus's wife, Hera, who is always presented as the cheated wife, who's always jealous, she's, of course, jealous again of yet another child that Zeus had with one of his many, many lovers, and she asks the Titans to kill Dionysos. Although he had taken the form of a goat, because why the hell not? Okay, he was a god. Even though he was a baby, he could just take the form of whatever animal he wanted. The Titans tore him to pieces. They boiled him. Okay, now I said it. And they ate him. His heart, though, was saved by Athena. Zeus then took the remains of his body and put them into a drink, which he eventually gave to the princess Semele. After the baby was finally reborn from the thigh of Zeus, okay, that's a whole different story here, which we're not going to get into right now, he gave him to god Hermes, the god of commerce, and Hermes entrusted him to the nymphs of Mount Nysa. And the nymphs fed him with ambrosia, the food of the gods, and of course that's what made him immortal. Nysa could have had a connection also to the name Dionysos. Nysa, Dionysos. In English you say Dionysus. That's why it's maybe harder to understand. I always tell tourists that the English language loves the sound I a lot. Any word that has E from Greek and eventually was used in English, it lost the E sound and that became an I. For example, the word idea, idea, dinamiko, dynamic. Dionysus. Actually, it has two E sounds in Greek. Dionysos. In English, it's Dionysus. Anyway, this story was the story of Hermes taking the baby and giving it to the nymphs. Was also depicted in ancient times, of course, in a beautiful sculpture that we have in one of the sites of Athens that I always show to tourists, and that would be in the Agora below the Acropolis. Agora, you pronounce as Agora in English. The symbolism behind this amazing story of the birth of Dionysus is that him being the god of wine, he was a child of the god of rain, as we said, Zeus, and a goddess of the earth, whether that is Persephone or her mother, Demeter. He was then boiled by the children of Gaia, which means the earth herself. By the way, for those who wondered why on earth didn't Zeus have the baby with Gaia, Gaia was his grandmother. So, okay, he was creepy, but not that much. He was a very big creep, but not that bad. So anyway, this whole thing symbolizes, of course, the harvesting and the winemaking process. The remains of the baby were returned to Demeter so that he could be born again. And on December 30th, they celebrated eventually his resurrection. Keep in mind that the suffering of Dionysus was the key feature of his cult, just as Jesus' suffering practically is significant for Christianity. Dionysus' suffering led eventually to the birth of tragedy, which began as a ritual to honor the god. Another celebration was called Kronia, in honor of Kronos, the father of Zeus. Later on, it was renamed Saturnalia by the Romans, who changed names of gods, as we've said before, and loved practically appropriating other people's cultures. Snap. Okay, it had to be said. And I think it will be said many, many times, more than you'd like to hear it. For those who don't know, but will notice for sure, I'm not really a fan of the Romans, for many reasons that are not for us to talk about in the moment. Practically every month back then involved some important religious celebration that was viewed as something offered to the citizens by their cities. So Kronos, god of harvest and time, was honored in several places in Greece. In the Greek language, Kronos and Chronos, time, as you heard, Chronos, time, are almost the same word. In English, though, they sound exactly the same. Whenever there was the sound ch in a word from Greek, that became a k in English. ch, but it's pronounced k. So, for example, the word for something which has to do with time, which is the word chronico, became the word chronic in English. That's why, ironically, in the end, in English, Kronos, both the god and the word time, are identified. They sound the same exactly. Those festivities took place in a month called Ekatomveon in Greek in the summer, which means a sacrifice of 100 oxen, which has to do with Athena, the goddess of wisdom. The month began at the time of the first new moon following the summer solstice. So again, we hear about the solstice. We mentioned the winter solstice, now it's the summer one. So of course, people's events back then revolve around those important moments of the year. And among other customs, they also exchanged gifts, which is something that we do in Christmas, obviously. On the day of the holiday, of course, you were not supposed to work, and also slaves, or servants, I would say more appropriate in the case of Greece, could also have fun. They could eat with their owners, masters, whatever you want to call them, as, let's say, a way to remember the golden age of mankind when there was no labor. This holiday was used, of course, eventually, as we said later, by the Romans, and they called it Saturnalia because Saturn Saturn, is the name for Kronos in Latin. By the way, keep in mind that in Greek we do not use the Latin names for the planets. The ones who named the planets, what we call them now, were the Greeks. That's why you say Venus, because in Greek we say Aphrodite, because they called that planet from the goddess of love. Or they called the planet Zeus, and that's why you eventually say Jupiter, because the Romans changed the name. The thing is that only now the holiday, back then we're talking about, back then the holiday takes place in the winter, from roughly, let's say 17th to 23rd, 24th of December. The 23rd specifically is the day of giving gifts, which they called sigillaria, pottery or wax figurines practically. As we said, December was no random choice for all of these celebrations. It has to do with, of course, the winter solstice, as we mentioned several times, and eventually December 25th specifically became for the Romans the day of the birth of the invincible sun, the Sol Invictus, that was established quite late from what we know, roughly 270 something AD by a Roman emperor called Aurelian. Since Jesus was indeed considered to be a sun deity, it wasn't that hard for them to choose eventually December 25th over January 6th, which was another suggested date for the birth of Jesus, which was celebrated, by the way, in the East. And eventually, of course, they adopted a lot of customs that had to do with that old celebration on December 25th for the sun. Jesus' birth, by the way, is not mentioned anywhere for about 3 centuries, not even the time of the year that he was born. Something similar happened also with his death, which was commemorated with Easter, which is obviously a Christian adaptation of the Jewish Pesach, the Passover. In Greek, by the way, we say Pascha from the Jewish word Pesach. There's no Greek word for that. And it was developed as a celebration earlier than Christmas. That is because, of course, his resurrection was something miraculous and therefore more important for his cult. Of course, the whole cult, the whole point of Christianity. When I say cult, by the way, I'm thinking of something which involves people doing secret rituals and kidnapping and sacrificing people. Anyway, I mean the religion, anyway. The point of Christianity is the resurrection of Jesus. In Greece, by the way, Easter is more significant. So now we get to the establishment of Christmas, finally. A lot of sources mentioned the celebration of Christmas practically around 330 something AD, which means by the time that Christianity is no longer persecuted as a sect, as a cult. Probably it was Pope Julius I that stopped celebrating Christmas along with the Epiphany, as you say in English, which means January 6th that I told you about earlier. Ironically, you say Epiphany in English, the word in Greek is Theophania. Epiphania, practically in English, Theophania in Greek. Epiphania means when something appears. It also means surface, practically. It's the time when something surfaces. But in Greek we say Theophania. Theo means God. It's when that God appeared. December 26th, of course, was chosen probably because of the Sol Invictus, as we said, but also it would have been the celebration for Mithra, which was an Eastern god. The Romans back then also had something called Brumalia, which comes from the word bruma, which means, of course, the winter solstice. And that holiday was celebrated at least until the 11th century. In several places, people still believed in the 12 gods. We know that was the case, for example, also in Greece in some places. People worshipped Virgin Mary and Jesus, and still Athena, Zeus, and so on. Eventually, Christianity becomes the official religion of the empire and tries to, let's say, assimilate all of the ancient rituals and give a new dimension to all of these things. It could also be, though, that the date that was really known to the Christians was that of the crucifixion of Jesus, March 25th, which was also believed to have been the date of his conception. Therefore, if he was born exactly 9 months later, it would be December 25th. Practically, Jesus was believed to have been conceived and crucified on the same day of the year. By the way, you should also read the article by Andrew McGowan, which I have used as one of my sources. I left a link for this article in the episode description for you. The Saturnalia celebration was preserved for quite a long time within the Roman Empire until probably the 5th century AD. And of course, it was no longer followed because Christianity now has prevailed. Nevertheless, a lot of the customs that had to do with the Saturnalia were preserved. For example, partying, playing games as well, which is still what we do, not really exactly for Christmas, but for New Year's Eve in Greece anyway, and also, of course, exchanging gifts. By the 6th century AD, Justinian, the emperor, declares it a public holiday. By the 12th century AD, as Christianity has spread by missionaries, let's say, spread or was imposed to a lot of people all around Europe, many other people now celebrate Christmas. Let's get to the Christmas customs of Greece now. Christmas trees might now be widespread in all Christian countries, Greece included, but this custom was actually imported to Greece nearly 2 centuries ago in the 1830s. That was because of the German Catholic king that was imposed in Greece after the Greeks gained their independence from the Turks. It was of course the time now to become as Western European as possible, finally. The tree itself has a connection with medieval Druidic practices. Nevertheless, we did see that even in ancient times, there was a custom of decorating a plant, the one that we said was called iresioni, which might have been an olive branch, for example. Before the Christmas tree, the Greeks used to decorate a small boat. If you thought, well, it makes sense since Greece is traditionally a maritime country, you thought right. Another connection to ancient rituals is, of course, the singing, the carols. The Greek carols we heard in the Santa Claus episode, but here's the translation in English. Good evening, lords. I may sing in your home, if it is your will, the divine birth of Jesus. Christ is born today in Bethlehem the city. The heavens are rejoicing, rejoices all of nature. In this house that we have come, may no stone ever crack, and the landlord of the house may live for many years. This last part is a reference to death that metaphorically can crack even stones. I remember when I was a kid and I used to sing this song. Of course, a lot of these things we didn't even get back then. One of the lines that really, would strike me back then was the one about the stone that would never crack, because the verb is used mainly for glass, so it seemed weird that a stone could be shattered like glass. When kids used to go about singing the carols way before I was born, they would carry a small boat with them, which the landlords, as the song says, would fill with traditional Christmas sweets that we do in Greece, such as kourabiedes and melomakarona. This might ring a bell from Halloween, where you do the trick-or-treating thing, but we don't trick anyone. It's just the carols, and there's always a treat. Or there used to be always a treat. Now the treat is money. The kids now just, of course, sing for the money, and they accompany their song only with a percussion instrument that we call trigono, which translates as triangle, which we use to make a lot of noise. Gradually, the Christmas tree gained, of course, more and more popularity, and the Christmas boat was no longer used. I, for example, was never exposed to that tradition when I first started singing the carols in the early 90s. Nevertheless, now in several cities of Greece, one can see also a boat and not just the tree, or sometimes only the boat or only the tree. Needless to say, of course, that food plays a huge part in most celebrations. Of course, in Greece, that's also the case. So one of the things that we do is something that we call Christopsomo, which translates as Christ's bread. Christopsomo. Christos is the word Christ, which means anointed, chosen in Greek. Hence, of course, the word Christ for Jesus and Christianity and all that. Keep in mind, by the way, that in Greece, we never say Jesus, we always say Christ, and also that eventually became a name. Christos is the word for Jesus. Christos is a name for men, and Christina and so on. Christina is also used in many languages, of course. So this would be a loaf of sweet bread, actually, decorated with a cross, and it has the flavor of anise, and sometimes we add more things, a lot of nuts to it, like almonds, raisins, even oranges, and dried figs. It might be even served with honey sometimes. And it could also have a depiction of the home that needs to be blessed, exactly as it's mentioned in the carols, where the stones shouldn't crack, as I said. Families leave bread on the table sometimes, believing that Jesus will come and eat it. That is also what we do, by the way, in Greece for Santa Claus. We leave some food for him to eat when he comes down the chimney, supposedly. I'm sure they do this in many other countries. Another thing that we eat is something that is called vasilopita, which translates as Saint Basil's pie. In Greek, pita is the word for pie. Pita eventually became the word pizza. It's quite obvious to me, anyway, that pita and pizza is almost the same if you just change the sound a little bit. That is just that we know where some of the words that we use, or some food that we think comes from certain places, where some of these things actually might come from. Keep in mind, I always say this to tourists, that's a parenthesis now, a lot of things that we have associated with certain countries are quite common, and I wouldn't say they come from another country, but they are really common all over the world, or in many, many, many countries. So just using some dough and putting stuff on it, of course, was not an Italian invention. People would do this in many, many places. In Greece, in the Middle East, and so on. And that is also the case for pasta as well. That's not an invention of Italy. Pasta, anyway, is a word that comes, again, from Greek. But anyway, that's a different thing. This vasilopita that I told you, we eat practically when the year changes, at midnight of New Year's Eve, practically at midnight. It's a cake or a pie, which has a coin hidden in it, and this is supposed to give good luck to the one that gets the lucky slice. Practically, we cut it in slices, and we dedicate them to someone. So one, for example, is dedicated to Jesus, another one is for Santa Claus, Vasilios, not Santa Claus specifically. Vasilios, it might be for the house, it might be for Virgin Mary, it might be for the father or the mother, and each of the children, and so on. So finally you get the lucky slice if it has a coin in it, and you're supposed to be the lucky person for the year. And you might even get some money as well. The idea is that this pie was originally created by Saint Vasilios, Basil, who came up with this in order to distribute money to the poor. So he hid coins inside the pies and offered them to the people. In the episode Is Santa Claus Greek, we mentioned that it's this saint, as we said, that we have in Greece as Santa. Make sure that you listen to this episode, by the way, if you missed it. Similar cakes are consumed during the Christmas period, also in several French, German, and Spanish-speaking countries, but their names are mostly associated with the Three Kings. The Three Kings, by the way, of course, we depict, but in Greece we don't really bother with the Three Kings. Another thing which is edible and that we use for Christmas is, of course, pomegranate. On New Year's Eve, it's the custom in Greece to break a pomegranate in the house. The abundance of the seeds symbolizes prosperity. In some ancient myths of Greece, pomegranate came from the blood of someone that died, and it was also offered by Hades to Persephone, to keep her for a few months in the underworld. Hence also the connection that pomegranate has in Greece with death. This antithesis is, for me, very, very interesting. What do you think? And then, last but not least, apart from the Christmas carols, we also have the New Year's carols and the Epiphany carols, so 3 times within a week practically. So we will finish this tribute, let's say, to Christmas and its connection to Greece with the New Year's carols. But before we listen to them, here's what we actually sing so that you know what the song actually says, which is performed, the one that we're going to hear, by Greece's best-selling artist ever. His name is Yorgos Dalaras, just so you know. So, beginning of the month and beginning of the year, my rosemary who is very tall, and a beginning of a good new year, and church with the holy throne. You can see something really, really weird. Actually, the backstory about this is that probably this was something that a boy would sing at the house of a girl that he liked. So within this carol that has to do with Christmas and New Year's Eve and all that, he would have some lines that seemingly don't make sense, but they have to do with the girl. So the rosemary, who is very tall, is the girl. The star that brought Christ, the holy and spiritual, on earth to walk and lift up our hearts. Saint Basil comes, and he does not dignify us from Caesarea, though you are a lady. So obviously the lady is the girl that he's referring to. So thank you for listening and enjoy the New Year's carols from Greece.
Αρχιμηνιά και αρχή χρόνια, ψήλι μου δέντρο λιβάνια. Κι αρχή καλός μας χρόνος, εκκλησιά με Τάγιος Θρόνος. Αρχή που βγήκεν ο Χριστός, Άγιος και πνευματικός, στη γη να περπατήσει και να μας καλοκαρδίσει. Άγιος Βασίλης έρχεται και δε μας καταδέχεται. Από την Κεσαρία συσσαρχόντισα κυρία.
Thank you all for joining me on this amazing journey through history. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And please share. Until next time, this is Onofrios Dovletis signing off from Not Another Greek History Podcast.